Rawls, anything else on your weekly update? I kind of cut you off by a little distraction. I apologize.
No, most of the public probably knows how my week went based on the Capitol Press report. So,
Yeah, I had several requests from people today and yesterday saying, have Raleigh talk about the Wolves. And I said, when and if he wants to, uh, we will. And it's all in the paper already. But yeah, that was my feedback to the those listeners that had called in for that exact thing. So
yeah, my name is supposed to be redacted from any reports, um, according to the laws and regulations put in with the Fish and Wildlife when this comes up as a rancher. We're supposed to remain anonymous, so nothing can come back on us as far as, it's a pretty volatile issue. There's extremes on both sides of it, and then historically there's been death threats and some other things come up with people killing wolves, but so far I haven't had anybody want to get that stupid. So it as far as the storyline goes, wolves in the area where I turned out cows, and they started depredating on my calves. Got two of them confirmed with the Fish and Wildlife, and
on two separate dates, right? Or two separate
two
occasions?
separate incidents.
Yeah.
We found them on the same date, but the tissue and damage and on the first calf was clearly 48 hours ahead of the second. The first wasn't as bad. Had a deep wound on its left front knee, from I would say about the size of a silver dollar, just a gaping old wound right into the joint. Was full of infection and pus when we got to it. And then the second, my neighbor actually contacted me, and that calf had been stuck in the mud at a pond where it got chased into. But the whole right, just went blank. Oh, there's Joel boy.
Yeah, Joel's coming online. So
yeah. So, anyways, the whole second calf's hind right quarter above the hock had been severely traumatized. You could take one finger and stick it clear through the hams and touch the opposing ham on the left side, the holes, and just shredded. That I've got lots of footage from documentation, pictures over the course of the last 2 weeks of doctoring on it and whatnot. But he's improving. He still has no function of his toes on that side. He just drags his foot as he moves. Pretty, you hear about it, and you hear about the brutalness of what these animals do, but you really don't understand until you see it firsthand. They're ruthless freaking killers. And anyhow, after that night, I went out to be at the Livestock that evening and monitor things, and actually had wolves howling all around, and two of them came into my neighbor's cows 1,000 yards away from me and were chasing his cattle around right up until dark. And I'd hazed them off of those ones away from those ones by shooting, just making noise, trying to get them to leave. And showed up the next morning to find at daylight a wolf chasing my cows. You're left with no choice at that point. And fortunately for the situation, I had the weather in my favor to where there was no questionable doubt as to the evidence. Running cow tracks and a wolf laying dead in them. So that there wasn't anything that
no room to really speculate or tell another story besides this thing was in my cows.
That's been one of the big issues for the stockmen is you hear of confirmed depredations, you hear of possibles, and there's one other term that the Fish and Wildlife people use. There's another grower over in the Pendleton area had some likelies and possibles is what they call them. Well,
that's right.
And those essentially are cattle that they find completely consumed, nothing but hair and hide and bones laying there. And yeah, they may have had a GPS caller come in on one of these wolves stating that they were in that area in that time frame. So it's a likely.
Yeah.
It could have been a wolf. Well, the trauma on the animal and the livestock for the confirmation process is gone at that point. They've consumed it all. Well, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, found the traumatized livestock still alive, luckily.
Mm-hmm.
But the confirmation process is much easier at that point. And so it's a very controversial issue, no doubt. Do the wolves need to be here? You're going to get a lot of different arguments on that. I personally could care less whether they're here or not. However, if they are going to be here, we need to be able to manage them. And
yes,
in my case, the pasture those cattle are in right now is only about between 700 and 800 acres. And quite frankly, I had the opportunity to do what I did, and wasn't proud to have to do that, but it's what you have to do under those circumstances. The problem I have, I had requested for a kill permit on that piece of property. If they're even on the property, then I can kill them. Well, they wouldn't even grant me that. And the bottom line is if those wolves are there, they're there for a reason.
yeah,
They're there to kill livestock or to kill something to eat. So I'm still not legally able to, as long as they're on the property, shoot one of them right there. I have to catch them in the act of pursuing my livestock in order to do it. And once it's already been proven that they're doing that, and hell, I killed one doing it, they still won't give me the opportunity to defend my stuff without them pursuing it. That's the part that's bullshit to me. That and the fact that in the recent wolf revision, 2 confirmed depredations within a 9-month period warrant the Fish and Wildlife to do a lethal take on the pack. Numbers, that's up to them at that point. But they told me on the same lines that I didn't have enough non-lethal measures. My livestock had only been in the pasture for a week when I got the first depredation. I'd been there 3 different times in that time frame, and the first depredation, based on the dates, would have occurred the day after I was there the last time. So in a week's time, how much non-lethal measures can you do? I mean, I could put up their stupid flagery and go out there and spend time flying kites or something, but it's not like that's the only thing I have to do. And my presence was certainly there enough, considering the circumstances. So, it's a bad situation that the stockmen are in. But every time that you think you're getting somewhere, they move the goalpost.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
You're stuck with them being the judge, jury, and prosecutor all in the same thing. I mean, you're kind of at their mercy. But I wouldn't call it fortunate that I was able to take one, but it's a shot in the arm for the cattlemen.
I think timing wise, the fact that you were there, it was muddy, you caught them in the act, and were able to get that all solidified and evidenced by the authorities. Certainly was the better part of a bad situation.
Yeah, and hopefully it's a breath of fresh air for the cattlemen to know that it can be done. I mean, it's not this. The sad part is you can't spend every waking moment with your livestock like that. It's not affordable, and it's not everybody's going to be in that situation and catch them that quick. But hopefully something bigger will become of it that'll be a benefit for the cattlemen.
Yeah, there's been, not to beat a dead horse, but there's been a lot of time and effort by a lot of different people put in on the wolf program and what's going through so far and where it's at, just to get it so it's somewhat, workable. It's still a long ways to go until it's really, what it needs to be.
We're dealing with a state that has a lot of different areas, and our particular corner of the state is extraordinarily infiltrated with these beasts. And to my knowledge, as of right now, since my depredation on the 22nd, I believe it was confirmed, since then, They've had a depredation in Union County. Just before mine, they had one
Mm-hmm.
in Union County on llamas. They've had one since. They've had a possible depredation here in Wallowa County again on Bear Creek. They've had two possibles over in Pendleton area on the Indian allotments up there.
Yeah.
And this is all in a 2-week time. And if you don't think we don't have a problem that warrants being taken care of, look at that time frame and look how many losses the stockmen are incurring. And we're just now turning out. We've got 6 months ahead of us of
Yeah,
turnout.
that's a good point.
It's the sheer dollars. I don't think people understand. Yeah, you know, a lot of people can say, well, yeah, when you take that calf you're going to get $800 to $1,000 when you go to market in the fall. Okay, let's look at it from this perspective. How about the fact that all my cattle have been bunched up for 2 weeks, just
Mm-hmm.
milling around the pasture, not eating, not gaining. So I've got 80 head out there, and I'm losing. If I'm gaining, if I'm gaining a pound a day, I'd be surprised right
Oh
now
yeah.
from them
Yeah.
calves. So that's 80 pounds a day that I'm not gaining on my final lane. But then you go to the other side of it. Those cows aren't milking like they should because they're
Mm-hmm.
not grazing enough, and the breed back on them.
Absolutely, that's the key.
Sliding off the other end. That's where our real loss is the breed back, and these cows that are supposed to be producing for us for 8-10 years
Mm-hmm.
are now, my young cows might not breed back as 3-year-olds
Yeah.
because they're stressed out being chased around. And that's the economic impact. When you start totaling the dollars on all the ranchers in my area that have to deal with this right now, you want to talk about some loss to a community. Those are extra dollars that we can help in our community that we don't have